Welcome back to Nostalgianomics. Today we're going to talk about the changing of the guards, so to speak. A lot of the items that are now switching positions in terms of value, not just in sealed product, but also in a lot of the singles within the sets. I know a lot of people have kind of this preconceived notion that when a set comes out, whatever cards are deemed most valuable, they're always going to be the most valuable, most sought after cards and rise over time. But a lot of times what we see with singles is sometimes singles will literally just fall off and never really recover, and other singles, kind of like the dark horse, will come out of nowhere and become the most valuable card in the set and continue to run into the future and be the best play. And that's what makes singles so dangerous to really like invest in, unless you really know what you're doing, you really have a good sense of the market, and you're still, again, getting more right than you're getting wrong. And so we're going to go ahead and look at kind of what's going on. The first thing I wanted to point out is one thing that, I kind of called from the beginning is the enhanced booster boxes. I always thought the enhanced booster boxes, even though the scarcity isn't there the way it is with the non-enhanced, I always thought the box toppers and the value of those would eventually propel them higher than the non-enhanced, and it is finally happening. So the Journey Together enhanced booster box is now selling in the high 250s, whereas the non-enhanced, this is a bogus listing, but the non-enhanced are now down in the 240s. So it's very clearly about $15 more, whereas this was never the case. The non-enhanced boxes were more valuable all the way up till now. A lot of people believe they were going to stay that way because of the scarcity, but it does seem like the market has decided that it does value the box topper more. Same thing goes for Mega Evolution. Again, these sets are very new, but the Mega Evolution non-enhanced has just kind of came down to the enhanced level and now basically been passed by $1 or $2. But the enhanced with the box topper is now $256, whereas the non-enhanced is now $250 plus 5 shipping. So it's $1 lower. It's nothing major, but it's likely going to continue the same pattern. I wouldn't be surprised if in a couple years the enhanced have made a sizable margin over the non-enhanced. Scarcity plays a factor for sure. But when it's literally the exact same product and the difference is it has a valuable box topper, I just don't know if scarcity is going to play as much of a factor as it does with other unique items. And so it does seem like the market is choosing that it does prefer the enhanced booster boxes over the non-enhanced. So that's one thing going on. We can look at the box topper promos compared to the ones you pull in the set. For Journey Together, at least, it does seem like the stamp is still more valuable. So the stamped promo is still going in the 17s, whereas the non-stamped promo, the card you actually pull in the set, is down in the 14s. And so it's definitely quite a bit cheaper, a few dollars cheaper. So people still do prefer the stamped version of the Reshiram. However, the non-stamped version of the Bulbasaur, the one you pull in Mega Evolution, it's actually with shipping in the 18s. Whereas the stamped version, the box topper, is actually under $18. So again, we're splitting hairs here. It's really close, but it's very clear that it doesn't have a premium the way the Ens Reshiram does. So I don't know how that's going to play out, how that's going to change. I said from the beginning, I could actually see that the non-stamped versions end up doing better just because they have that actually pull rate rarity, as opposed to just the scarcity of how many, boxes get open and are out there. But we're going to see. We're going to see how it plays out. Do people prefer the stamp? Do they not prefer the stamp? I'm still unsure on that. We're going to find out. But it does seem like people are preferring the enhanced booster boxes because of the value of the promo, which makes sense, right? Let's start out with SV Base now. So, as you guys know, when SV Base was released, or if some of you may not know, the Miriam was actually the most expensive card in the set. Now, there were reasons for that a couple years ago. There was a big waifu type boom going on, especially with them being preferred in the Japanese sets, and so that could be a reason why it fell off so much. A lot of waifu type cards have fallen off, but the Gardevoir has pretty much held its spot. Now, for a period of time, the Drowsy was actually number one. Now look, the Drowsy's fallen off. It's not even the most expensive illustration anymore. Now the Ralts is the most expensive illustration, and judging from the market prices here, the Drowsy might actually fall back to the Kirlia too, and we may have the entire Gardevoir line be the top 3 cards. Again, there's no telling how things are going to play out. Like, we may look at this another year, and maybe special illustrations are valued higher again, and then the Miraidon, Miriam, Koraidon jump up over the illustrations. Maybe the gem rate rarity is more valued, and then the Gardevoir falls back, and Ralts, Drowsy, Kirlia take the top spot. It's really hard to judge, and that's why singles investing is very difficult to kind of get an overall view of how the market is going to view cards. Let's take a look at some more. So the Magikarp, I mean, everyone, again, not everyone, but most of you remember, the Iono was the most popular card. It was the most expensive card for the longest time. Again, maybe it's because, it's a female trainer. No one knows. But it is an SIR compared to all these illustrations, which, obviously illustrations have taken kind of the top spot because of the gem rates. However, this Mousehold card, did anyone see this happening? Mousehold is now nipping at the Tyranitar as to almost being more valuable. It's only $2 less market price. It's already passed up the Raichu, which is incredible. Not only that, guys, remember the Meryl? Look at this Meryl card. This card at one point was up here at $31. At one point when it was $31, a lot of these other cards weren't that expensive. It was actually really high up. If we go back and look at like the Raichu back when the Meryl was 30, the Raichu, I guess it was somewhere around this time frame, it was only 50. So it's interesting to see the Meryl fall as far back as it did. It was actually higher at one point than the Chi-Yu and the Tinkaton and some of these, I believe. And so it's just a lot of changing of positions. And then you could go look back if you're really wanting to speculate. You could look back and be like, well, maybe the Skeletors and Shi and Pao is going to have a run later on. The SIRs are going to be valuable again. I don't know, right? But it is fun to kind of look through these sets and see, kind of get an idea of what you think is going to happen. Obviously with Paradox Rift, the Groudon took the top spot, but the Altaria has now eclipsed the Roaring Moon. The Roaring Moon used to be the most expensive card in the set. So, when this set was released, again, if you guys don't remember, the Roaring Moon and the Iron Valiant, these were the two top cards. The Iron Valiant is down at the 10th spot now, and it's not showing any signs of rising again. And so, again, very hard to predict these things. Okay, going to Temporal Forces. The Raging Bolt has taken the top spot. It's still holding on to it for the time being, but again, the Ghastly is close second. The Iron Crown, which used to be the most expensive card, is now number 3. The Morty's Conviction, because of the Gengar, is taking this 4th spot. At one point, this ran up to almost the top card in the set. Now we got the full art Gengar. It's just a full art, but now it's more expensive than the Gouging Fire SIR, the Iron Leaves SIR. There's all kinds of shakeups always happening in this set. We've got 151. Look at this. The Venusaur, guys. The Venusaur has now dethroned the Blastoise as the second best hit in the set. Not only that, look at these. Charmander, Squirtle, the Bulbasaur almost has outclassed now the Alakazam SIR. So now you have these illustrations outclassing SIRs. Who knows? I mean, there's no telling what's going to happen in 151 with how things kind of, one thing we can probably all agree on, the Charizard's probably going to remain the top spot, but everything else, it seems up for grabs with a lot of this stuff. Paldean Fates is a great one to look at. So everyone remembers the Charizard was the top spot. Bubble Mew has eclipsed that, and it's probably always going to be number 1 now. The Bubble Mew has kind of almost ascended past a lot of the cards and kind of become one of the staples in the era. But one thing I wanted to point out, this Mew EX, let's go back and look at this. This shiny Mew was an $8 card a year ago. $8. It is now the 6th most expensive card in the set. When this set was released, these full art shinies were said to be too easy to pull. There wasn't enough of them. The pull rates weren't hard enough. Therefore, no one really thought the full art shinies were going to have much value because they were easier to pull than the baby shinies, because there's so many of these to collect. It makes it so hard to pull a specific one. And yeah, the Pikachus remain valuable, the Snorlax, the Charmander, but the fact the full art shiny Mew is made up to the 6th most expensive card in the set, it just goes to show it's not always about rarity. It's not always about pull rates. Sometimes desirability and the popularity of the Pokemon can outdo all those. I mean, look, now the Penny, being an SIR, is now back to the 8th spot. So it just goes to show, guys, it's so hard to predict this stuff. Last one I want to talk about is Shrouded Fable. Now that the Earthen Vessel is starting to get more and more playable copies out there in the regular version, it does seem like the gold version is starting to fall. The Pheasantipity is now number 1. The Persian is now number 3. There was a time when Persian was number 1. When the set was released, this Cassiopeia card right here was actually the top hit. Again, female trainer card. It's felt like the rest of the female trainers. But I mean, looking into the set, who knows what's going to happen? I mean, the Duskull's up here. Maybe the Dusclops, Dusknoir line, rises up. It's likely a lot of these gold energies and this gold Earthen Vessel will likely fall over time. Maybe the Persian will take number 1. The whole point of this video, it's to be careful kind of establishing what you believe is always going to be sought after and always going to be the most expensive and most sought after cards. We could do this exercise for X, Y, and Sun and Moon sets, and it would blow your mind. If we did a time lapse for a set like, I don't know, Cosmic Eclipse, and you saw how many cards had the top spot in Cosmic Eclipse, I mean, I don't know, it's probably turned over 10 different times. I mean, back when Sun and Moon was coming out, it was all about the rainbows, right? It was the Charizard breaks and rainbow. And then everything switched around when it all became about the alt arts. And then things switched again when like the Reshiram Zekrom card took over. And now it's switched again, when the trainer cards took over. And so things are always changing when it comes to singles, guys. And that's why, when it comes to sealed product, it's pretty easy. The booster box is always the most desirable item. Now you could say, yeah, if you get a PCETB at a MSRP on the site, for sure, you're probably going to do better on that. But then when PCETB is in the open market now, when they're hundreds of dollars, it's hard to tell, but booster boxes are likely always going to be king. And so it's really easy when you're, investing in sealed product. You just buy booster boxes, put them away. When it comes to singles, you got to be a lot more honed in on the market and very confident in kind of your ability to read the market and read what people are going to want moving forward. Now, if you're good at that, you are going to do extremely well. You are going to do far better than anyone that's buying sealed product. But the very fact of how much this stuff turns over and changes just goes to show it may not be worth taking those risks. So that's all I got to say today, guys. Hopefully it gave you guys a little better perspective of how all these things work and how things can change and perspectives can change over time. Subscribe to the channel if you're not. I'll be back in a new one soon. We're out.